Welcome in to another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside the indomitable Heath Bell, here to break down the Padres series split against the Giants, look ahead to their upcoming series against the Milwaukee Brewers, and break down their current injury situation, as well as scroll down memory lane and see who Heath's favorite clubhouse leaders were, as well as some of his favorite road cities. Heath, Padres went up to San Francisco, split with the Giants, taking the first two games in extra innings before dropping the final two games. Every game this series was a one-run game, neck and neck, down to the wire, exciting baseball. Ultimately, you get a split on the road against a division opponent. What's your overall assessment of this past series for the Padres? Because we know it is a big series to start off a critical 17-game stretch.
Well, when you split a 4-game series, it's exactly like winning the series. It's kind of like a tie. You didn't win, you didn't lose.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping some of the injuries that we saw the last couple of days isn't really going to bite us in the butt. But, like I said before last week, guys, grew up playing baseball and they want to play baseball. And, we have this big stretch of playing a bunch of games in a row. And, there's no off days. And I understand, you need some off days here and there. But, gosh, if you want to play baseball and you want to win a World Series, you got to love the game and you got to want to play every single day. So, I just get fed up with those guys that are like, well, I need an off day or this and that. I'm like, and the funny part is in the past, I've heard people in the playoffs go, man, we play so many games in the playoffs and we got to travel. And I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure anybody on my team would forfeit early off season to be in the playoffs and have to struggle with all that. So, I think we're fine because I think the Padres and the players out there, they love to play. And I don't think we need off days right now.
Again, this is a team that shows up and competes day in and day out. And the series split, like you said, anytime you split a 4-game series on the road against a good division opponent, that counts as a win. And every single game this series was dramatic in some ways. The Padres had a chance to win all 4. They, of course, won the first 2 in extra innings in dramatic fashion. And even the games Wednesday and Thursday, Luis Arraez looked like he hit the game-tying triple, and Daniel Johnson just made an incredible catch in the 9th inning to help secure the Giants' win. And then in the finale on Thursday afternoon, the Padres had the tying run 90 feet away. Camilo Doval just made good pitches to escape, and that's what good closers do. Good closers who throw 101, 102. So, again, the Padres were competitive all series. The pitching staff did its job, holding the Giants to 11 runs over 4 games. Of course, you'd like to see the offense do a little more than they did, but these are two very similar teams. The Giants and Padres mirror each other in a lot of ways. Two teams with really, really good pitching staffs, whose best pitchers were on turn during this series. For the Giants, Logan Webb and Robbie Ray both threw. For the Padres, Dylan Cease and Nick Pivetta both threw. And two offenses that have the ability to do some damage at times, but have been struggling recently. I think this was kind of the outcome to be expected. Low-scoring games, most of the series, pretty even matchup. Every game was a one-run game. Both teams can make an argument they should have won all 4 games. And you earn a split, I take it as a dub.
Yeah, it was really good defense.
Yes.
Going into San Francisco, the wind blows here and there, and sometimes it can just be a blowout like Colorado, but most of the time the wind's going to knock the ball down, and you're just going to have a lot of good baseball games. And like you said, both of the teams could have won all 4 games, and it was a really good series. It was fun to watch. Yeah. So I was kind of the last 2 days I was going back and forth to the women's college softball, but all 4 games were exciting. And, so yeah, it was fun to watch. It really was. I love these baseball games, not the 1-run game, like 1-0, but the 2-3 or 3-4, the close games that you score a few runs. That's what's really fun to watch.
Absolutely. You mentioned the Padres lost a couple players due to injury during the series. We saw Xander Bogaerts leave the middle of Wednesday's game with some shoulder soreness. Luis Arraez left Thursday's game with some knee soreness. This is the time of year where everyone is starting to play through some bumps and bruises, and some days it just hurts more than others. What's your level of concern? Again, the Padres have said both these guys are going to be day-to-day, so they don't anticipate it being major injuries long-term. But what's your overall level of concern when you see 2 starters leaving the middle of a game?
It's, Arraez, I'm a little concerned because it's a knee issue, this and that. And, he's kind of the spark plug, the guy that's getting on base all the time. So he's more I'm concerned about because the offensive part. I feel like defensively, we can put Sheets there, put Cohenworth. It's not going to hurt us, But then again, you take Bogaerts. He's getting a couple of hits there and there, but for the most part, he's been fundamentally really good defensively. And and shortstop is that one of those keys that you want defensively over offense traditionally. So he's the one I'm more worried about. I know it's a shoulder issue, but shoulders can agonize a little bit more. But, and knees can bother you too. But I'm more worried about his defense because, he occasionally would get a hit or two, but his defense, I think, was pretty stellar. So that's what I'm more worried about, the defensive part, because, the Padres have gotten this far because of their defense partially, especially when their offense isn't tearing it up.
You mentioned defense. Jose Iglesias came up huge for the Padres this series, made some great catches at third base. I mean, as a pitcher, were you exhaling for the guys in the mound because you knew how much Jose Iglesias' big plays were making a difference for them?
Well, yes and no, because it was they hit the ball so fast, the TV couldn't even follow it. It's like hit. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's a hit. Wait, no, he caught the ball. Okay. So it was really exciting. And I've been on those ends where you throw a pitch and you're just like, oh, I want to take it back. And somebody just missiles it. And then all of a sudden somebody just picks it for you, or somebody is in the right spot. And you're just like, oh, okay, I feel a lot better now. So, yeah, I would love to have Iglesias right there. And, him playing shortstop a little bit now. So I think we'll be okay. But, yeah, he came up big in the last series.
Yeah, there's no question. The Padres defensively, you think, will be fine. Again, you can slide Cronenworth over to first base, potentially Sheets as well. Jose Iglesias can hold down shortstop as long as needed. I think the main concern again is offense. Again, Luis Arraez is one of the key parts of this lineup. Xander Bogaerts, of course, his contributions have certainly come more on the defensive side of the ball as well as on the base pass, but we have been starting to see him hit some balls harder, be a little more of an offensive threat than he was early. So he certainly would be a loss. I do think for the Padres, though, again, Mike Schultz said these are both day-to-day situations. Doesn't look like either will go on the IL. And it's still June 6th. As much as this is a huge, huge stretch, as much as this is a pivotal stretch, there's still 100 games left in the season. You don't want to push anything. This is the time to play conservative, get these guys back to 100% so that when they do come back for whenever it is, they're ready to go and ready to go for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time, just like you said, you don't want to push anything, especially since the Padres don't have any much depth. So even if we don't see them, say, through the Milwaukee series, and then we see them play every other day for a week or two, or one every 3 days, I wouldn't be too concerned, because as long as they're not going on the DL, it's not anything major. It's day-to-day stuff. And I wouldn't push it unless it was August, just because we don't have any depth really. And we're going to need those two guys. I mean, Bogaerts, you have to admit, he's not hitting well, but he's come up with some big situations and got some key hits. Arraez is one of those guys that we're going to worry about offense, especially since Tatis hasn't been swinging the ball like, the first 6 weeks of the season. He's not hitting the ball like he was. Yeah. So we need somebody else to kind of hit the ball early in the batting order. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, some guys are going to need to step up like Wade and some other guys that get called up. So we're going to, Iglesias needs to step up and get some more hits, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
One other injury that was avoided, it looks like, Dylan Cease took a 104-mile-an-hour comebacker off his forearm. Very, very scary moment. Stayed in the game. Again, post-game, everything appears like he'll be okay. I have to ask, when you see a pitcher take a comebacker like that, what is your reaction? What is your instinct? Do you feel the comebackers that hit you in the past, or what goes through your mind when you see that?
Honestly, when it comes to the mind, when a ball comes back at a pitcher, unless it's the head, near the head area, it's kind of like, man, we got so much adrenaline that ain't gonna phase us. That's not gonna hurt. I know. I mean, some guys you'll get hit and they'll pretend they're hurt and they're kind of this and that, and then they go out and they pitch great to finish the inning. So I just feel like the pitchers, they have so much adrenaline pumping that when the balls come back and hit us in the leg or the stomach or the arm, the back, it's not a big deal. We don't really feel it until like 2 days later. But the only part that's like, is the head shots where you're kind of like, you really feel that, or the cup shots. Those you feel too. I feel that on TV anytime that happens, even if it's not a pitcher.
What's the worst comebacker you ever took?
I don't remember what game it was, but I know I got a comebacker that hit me like right below the knee on the kind of the side. I didn't even feel it. I didn't get a bruise. And they literally took me out of the game because they were worried about me. And I'm like, I'm fine. I squatted. I moved around. They're like, no, it could be more. I'm like, okay. So this might have been my Mets days, but I remember that. I just don't remember what team and whatnot because it was, to me, it was like not a big deal. I got hit. I ran, got the ball, threw it first. We're good to go. And then it was like, no, it might be, you might feel it more down the road. And I'm like, I don't feel anything. And then the next day I was like, look, I don't even have a bruise. So, but when I pitched, if it, when I was closing with San Diego and setting up for San Diego, when a ball came at me, I kind of became a hockey goalie and I just threw my body in front of it because I figured if I could block it, I could go and pick the ball up and throw to first. And that was the best chance that we had because we didn't play shortstops right behind second base or second basemen back in those days. We actually had them where they were supposed to be. So I felt like, I was kind of more of a hockey goalie during the game. But I will tell you, in spring training or if we did PFPs, pitcher fielding position, and the coaches would hit the ball, man, I'd get out of the way and this and that because the adrenaline wasn't pumping. It wasn't like I got to stop this. It was kind of like, I stick my glove out there, but get my body out of the way because those hurt for some reason. During the game, it didn't hurt, but in practice, man, those balls hurt.
Like you said, the adrenaline in an actual game, you cannot simulate it. It is a completely different feeling out there where, like you said, glancing blow, even a straight shot back at you, somehow you become that much more invincible. And obviously, very, very good news all around that Dylan Cease is okay. He was able to stay in the game and doesn't look like he'll miss any time, especially given the state of the Padres pitching staff. All right, Heath, we have a lot more to talk about, including the state of the Padres pitching staff, especially as they head into this key series against the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our friends at Arena Club. We'll jump right back into it.
FT fan by now, if you're buying, selling, trading, collecting cards, Arena Club is the spot. We've been talking about them all season long, but I do want to focus on the slab pack experience, Kratz, since you've been ripping some slab packs digitally. And what happens?
I mean, as a kid, you wanted to rip open the packs. How can they do this digitally? Oh, baby. This is exciting, how the graphics come out and everything. And, the card that you pull, you can actually get that, John, physically. So it's perfect. It's all in one place, and it's a super exciting experience.
Yeah, they send that to you from the vault if you want it. But if you look at it and you're like, it's not the card for me, I want to sell it back, go for it. You can do any of that on Arena Club, and you can acquire the best value for your money with those slab packs, transparent checklists, and Arena Club's Slab Safe program. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/FAL and use code FAL. arenaclub.com/FAL. Use code FAL.
All right, welcome back to Friar Territory. Kyle Glaser alongside Heath Bell. All right, Heath, the Padres head into the Brewers series against a very, very red-hot Milwaukee team. The Brewers have won 9 of 10, and like the Giants, they mirror the Padres in some ways. Really, really, really good pitching staff. Offense that has some threats, but on the whole, they've been inconsistent this year. What are you going to be looking for as the Padres roll into Milwaukee?
Really, I'm going to see how their hitters are doing, because our offense, we've scored some, we're scoring some runs, but we're not really like hitting like we have been. And I'm not talking home runs. I'm just talking driving the ball the other way, this and that. And, I feel like Milwaukee's pitching staff throws away a lot more than other clubs. So I'm going to see if us driving the ball the other way and, maybe get a Brotsworth, while I watch the game too. So maybe I have to run to the store and cook it on the barbecue. So we'll see.
Yeah, we spend so much time talking about this offense because in a lot of ways that is the X factor here. When the offense is hitting well, this team looks amazing. When they're not, I have to sneeze. Hold on.
Bless you. Well, anyway, when they're not hitting, they're struggling. And I feel like I don't want to say they give up, but I kind of feel like it's kind of like, well, we're not hitting today.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things, though, we need to talk about is this pitching staff. Because, again, because the offense in some ways is the X factor that so many people are keeping an eye on because that's going to determine whether the Padres win or lose, the pitching staff almost gets lost because they've been so consistent. And, again, there have been bad days here or there, but for the most part, this Padres pitching staff is going to give you a good outing. And I think it's really, really important to highlight how good this pitching staff has been. So keep in mind, of course, the The Padres have not had Yu Darvish at any point this year. Joe Musgrove is out for the year after having Tommy John surgery. Dylan Cease is having a down year by his standards. Michael King just went on the IL. Despite all of that, the Padres entering today are top 10 in the majors in ERA. They are top 10 in the majors in WHIP, and they are top 5 in the majors in opponent's average. They've had a lot of guys step up. And we talk about the Padres' lack of depth, and I want to clarify, we've talked about that. We were talking about the lineup when we talk about that. Yeah. There has been some upper level pitching depth in this organization for some time. We talked about that coming into the year, and a lot of those guys are stepping up. Stephen Kolek, Ryan Bergert, Randy Vasquez has a sub-4 ERA. So I think it's important to really give this Padres pitching staff credit for the work they're doing game in and game out. And frankly, they're the reason why the Padres are 35-26 and in playoff position. They're only 2 games back of the Dodgers. I think there's a little frustration among the San Diego fan base. This is a team right now that's on pace for 90-plus wins. They're in the division title hunt, and they're in playoff position right now if the season ended today. Give this pitching staff a lot of credit for what they've done this year.
Well, the thing is, nobody's talking about the pitching staff is because they're not real sexy. You know, they're not striking a bunch of people out. They're not loud and obnoxious. They just go out there and they're getting guys out. They're not walking guys. That's a huge part about pitching. They're, you know, that's where the defense comes in play, where, you know, they're going to let the other team put the ball in play, and the defense is going to help the pitchers out and make the plays. But you got to give it to the pitchers that they're out there just pounding the strike zone. And you've seen during the season, there's been only probably maybe 3 games I can count of that we just didn't pound the zone and we were walking too many guys. But even there's been some games that we pound the zone too much and they're getting hit, you know. But the thing is, they're throwing strikes, and you want your pitching staff always to throw strikes. You want them to be around the zone all the time. And then the other team knows that, so they're going to be swinging a lot. So that's why they're going to be popping the ball up and grounding out, because the pitching staff does have really good pitches, even though the other team hits them. I think everybody most fans are like, well, if he has a good curveball or good changeup, they can't hit it. No, they're big league guys. They can hit the ball. They're just not going to be able to hit it well. So,
yeah,
you know, there's only probably 5 or 6 guys in the whole league that have that changeup that nobody can hit, like a Trevor Hoffman, or have a fastball that just nobody can hit. It's like invisible. It just goes by people. So, or that sinker or that slider or whatnot. If he throws it perfect, nobody can hit it. But that pitching staff, and I like how the Padres pitching staff has been not rated high, like nobody's talking about it, because they just go out and do their thing. And like I said, if they're not doing it, you know, they're not sexy, then nobody's going to talk about them. But you know what? They get the job done, and that's all that really matters. You know, when I came to San Diego from New York, it was, we don't care how you look. We don't care what you do. Just get the job done. Put up a 0 on the board, and that's all we need you to do. And I think that's what these guys are doing, and that's fine. You know, just keep it like that. Let's talk about the offense, and then before you know it, we'll be in the playoffs, and then people are going to start talking about the pitching staff, how good they are, and then our offense will show up again, and, you know, we'll have a chance to win the whole thing.
Yeah, and then we talk about guys stepping up. Sean Reynolds coming in, throwing 3 scoreless innings in that game against the Giants to help propel the Padres to a win. That was a huge, huge outing there. David Morgan, a recent call-up, has been really good recently as well, giving the Padres a couple multi-inning outings. And on the starting rotation side, again, we talk about Randy Vasquez, Stephen Kolek, Ryan Bergert. Those are going to be the Padres' 3 starters this upcoming series against the Brewers. Vasquez versus Chad Patrick, who's the latest pitcher the Brewers found somewhere and turned into an ace. That's going to be the opening matchup. Stephen Kolek versus Jose Quintana on Saturday. Quintana, of course, a veteran lefty with a long track record of success. Then Ryan Bergert versus Aaron Savali. Savali's struggled a little bit this year, but again, he's a veteran who has a long track record of success, and he's only made 4 starts this year due to injury, so you know he'll be on track. I do expect this series to be very, very similar to the Giants series, and that's going to be a lot of low-scoring games, a lot of close games, a lot of one-run games. And ultimately, it's just going to come down to who's able to get the big hit and when, because both offenses, again, have weapons. But on the whole, it has not been a very productive offensive year for either club.
Yeah, it's, you know, I got a prediction that the Padres are just going to tear it up this series. The offense is just going to show up for at least 2 of the games. I just have a funny feeling that the offense is just going to show up. For some reason in the past, the Padres, my time, we weren't a very good offensive team, but when we went to Milwaukee, we used to hit. So maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just something there. So maybe
The
it's
beer and the brats.
maybe it's the beer. I don't know. But I feel like our offense always did really well in Milwaukee. So
Yeah, we will certainly see. I have to ask Heath, where for you is Milwaukee on the list of road cities you enjoyed visiting?
the best thing about Milwaukee was, we stayed at the hotel that was haunted, supposedly. So,
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
I don't know if they still stay there, but I always thought that was kind of fun. So that, and I would get to the stadium early, and if I got there early enough, I got to go down the slide. That that's probably one of my best memories about Milwaukee is go down the slide. But you couldn't tell anybody, you couldn't film it because then they would lock it off like the night before and stuff like that. So you have to get there like at 11 o'clock or something or noon.
How many times did you secretly sneak in and go down the slide?
Oh, probably about 10 or 11 times. Probably. There's a couple times I did the first couple times I did it, you feel like you're going to fall off you don't like jump down it because you feel like you're literally going to jump off the building. It's so high up. You don't realize how high it is until you get up there. So, the brewer, you got to give him props for when he goes down the slide because he just full on just goes for it. So, but I feel like just about every other time, I feel like I was going to fall off the building. I was like, this is not going to be good. They're going to show up and Heath Bell's on the floor, not moving. So
I have to ask, were you just like sneaking in alone, or did you get a group of teammates to go with you and you guys were all kind of in on it together?
Well, the time I got a couple guys with me to go with me, it was locked, and then somebody saw us go up there. So the rest of the series, we couldn't go there. So I kind of just started doing it on my own, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
Hey, got to get your thrills somehow, some way, right?
Yeah. I'd tell some guys, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, go, you got to sneak up there. You got to get here early. But I was one of those guys that would show up to the yard sometimes before. I'd get there when the visiting clubby, they're like opening it up and I'm right behind them. So, some cities, there's some fun things to do. And then, that was one of them where I didn't go out a whole lot in Milwaukee, but I would always have fun at the stadium because I felt like the stadium was, plus the clubhouse had the arcade top tee or golden tee, the golf game. And that was always fun to do. Yeah.
Nice. There you go. Well, who knows? Maybe the Padres will have some fun, score a bunch of runs, go down the slide. Just don't want to break any arms like David Vassay, the Dodgers radio reporter, did a few years ago. That was a little rough, but nonetheless, I think that is something that's on a lot of people's bucket list in the game is go down the slide at least one time. So glad you got to enjoy it.
Got to do it secretly.
Got to do it secretly. That's true. Or somehow, find the Bernie Brewer mascot. Get yourself in there and pretend to go down. So here's a question. Is one of your low-key dreams to run in the sausage race up there? I feel like a lot of people talk about wanting to do that.
Honestly, the only thing I've actually wanted to do, but I was done playing, was in Atlanta, Mr. Freeze or whatever his name is.
Freeze, yeah.
Freeze, try to beat him out. That I would somehow try to do that during the game. But the sausage race, no, that was always fun to watch, this and that. Because I felt like that was more realistic than like the one in DC. They have the race where I forget where the presidents, certain guys don't always win, but I feel like the sausage race was always like legit. Whoever was the fastest person underneath, and it wasn't like staged. So I give Brewer a credit for that because I don't feel like that one's staged.
Absolutely. All right, Heath, we've got a lot more to talk about. I want to talk to you a little bit about leadership, the best clubhouse leaders in your time, and kind of tie it back into Manny Machado because we're seeing some really, really good stuff from him. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from another one of our sponsors, then we'll dive right back into it.
Hey, if you want to keep the conversation going after a show that you're listening to on the FT network, then head to Chat BCC. AJ's on there.
I'm on there right now, typing away. I'll be there. We'll be there all the time, talking about what topics people want to discuss, what everyone wants to hear us talk about on Foul Territory.
Yeah, if you have a question, we can answer it on FT or on an FT team show on the network. So if you want to come crash our group chat, it's as easy as sending a text. Head to foulterritory.chat to start chatting with FT hosts and the FT fam.
All right, welcome back to Friar Territory. Kyle Glaser alongside Heath Bell. All right, Heath, we talk a lot about Manny Machado on this show, and A good reason for it. He's the leader. He's in the spotlight. And we've talked about that. When he is going well, he is the engine that makes this team go. And there have been times where he's been criticized and we've criticized him. But I think if you're going to criticize someone, you also have to give them credit. And I want to give Manny Machado loads and loads and loads of credit. We are seeing him consistently step up and deliver big hits for the Padres, keep them in games, lead the way. We talked about his 4 home runs in a 9-game stretch, many of them big, in the Giants series as well. Padres down to their final out, comes through with a 2-run single to tie the game in the second game of the series, helps lead them to an extra inning win. And even yesterday, Thursday in the finale, Padres are down in the 9th. Who is it that gets the hit to get the rally going? It was Manny Machado with a single to right, didn't try to do too much, got on base, advanced all the way to third, was 90 feet away from scoring the tying run. And we talked about that game in Toronto where, look, he just had a bad game, made errors on back-to-back plays. One of them, the effort was not what you wanted to see. And we talked about it then that this was going to be kind of a critical moment for Manny Machado. How's he going to respond? The team was spiraling. He'd had a bad game. And past versions of Manny Machado would start to get into a malaise, start to spiral a little bit, and start to check out. Manny Machado has responded by playing some of his best baseball of the season, offensively, defensively, and he has led this team. This is what leaders do. And I want to give Manny Machado a lot of credit. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. His focus, energy, and engagement level are so much higher this year. And they were last year too, but especially this year compared to earlier in his career. And it's really, really good to see. And it frankly has been a boon for the Padres, especially over this last 2 weeks.
I think Manny, here's the thing, in Baltimore, I think, that's where he came up and this and that, but I don't think he ever felt like at home. I don't think he felt like, hey, management was going to do what they can to kind of put a team around him, year in and year out, where San Diego kind of has. And I think he's finally matured as in, you know what? I don't always have to hit the big home run, this and that. I just got to do the little things. And then other guys are going to help out. I don't have to carry the team. So when he just goes and tries to hit the ball to right field to start a little rally, I mean, sometimes if you really know baseball, home runs sometimes kill a rally. But a single or a double, I mean, they can win a game too, but single or double gets a rally going and gets everybody pumped up, where I think Machado's doing that, where, in the past he has a bad game and some errors, maybe he just trickles down and gets frustrated, where he understands, okay, you know what, you're going to have a bad game. If you have your MVP season, you're going to probably have 5 or 6 bad games or 2 or 3 bad stretches during the season. It's okay. Let me focus on, let me do the little things. Let me just square up the ball. Let me, stay in front of the ball. Let me, do the normal defensive things. And, and he's doing all that. And that's why he's kind of the team leader, or the team leader on the team, especially behind the scenes, even, the past years when he hasn't had the best years. I still think he's the guy, the engine behind or in front of the train that's kind of pulling the train. Let's go. Go this direction. So you got to give Manny a lot of credit about a lot of things. And like I said, is that first game, I feel like he didn't hustle. And then after that, this was the first series of the year. And then all of a sudden he started hustling. And I haven't honestly seen him stop hustling. I mean, normally, the half-ass jog to first base, but you're really kind of hustling, but you're not. That everybody does that, and I'm not even taking that in coincidence. But I'm just saying, you normally see certain guys not even like try to hustle, and Machado has not done that at all this year. Yeah. And I got to give him props for that, just because that's kind of my one take. Because in the past, I think that's happened, and maybe it's just maturity or whatnot. But Machado is. He's doing a lot of things like Adrian Gonzalez used to do back in my day, just kind of the quiet but fun-loving guy that, would kind of carry the team and motivate the team. And you wouldn't even see always, rallying. But, Machado, I loved how this last series in the Giants situation where I forget who he hit. And it was, he hit the bottom of the bat, his hand or whatnot. We weren't trying to hit him in this and that. And you just see Machado stand outside the dugout like, what are we going to do here? Yeah. What are we going to do? It's not a big situation. And it didn't turn into anything, but it was just kind of like, I've seen a bunch of memes like, you don't mess with the Padres. And you see him in the forefront just like, let's roll. So it's fun to watch. It really is.
No question. I wanted to ask you this. You played with so many players over the course of your career. Hundreds of different guys, came and went. What to you makes a good leader? Because I think a lot of times what fans perceive to be a good leader, media perceives to be a good leader, even the front office perceives to be a good leader, can be very different than what a player perceives to be a good leader in the clubhouse. What for you makes someone a good leader in the clubhouse?
Somebody that you can go and talk to. If you're doing good, you're doing bad. If they're doing good or they're doing bad, you can talk to them. Because there's some guys that do really well and love to talk and mess around, this and that. When they're struggling, they just don't want to be talking to. Just don't talk to me, this and that. They're pretty much the same pace the whole way, and it's very easy, very approachable, and they make it very approachable. You young guy come up, talk to the young guy right away, not like, hey, who are you? Let me see if you're any good. Let me see if you're going to stay here for a couple of days or, a week or a month.
Yeah.
Before I really engage in you. So, I just think the guys in the clubhouse that you can easily talk to about anything off the field, on the field, this and that, are just real easy accessible. That's your kind of a really good team leader. And that doesn't necessarily always have to be a starter. Yeah. So in my days, it was, we had Adrian Gonzalez was there. You had Brian Giles, back in the day with the Mets, you had Mike Cameron was kind of a team leader. I had Matt Stairs later in the Padres years. He was a kind of a role player, and Matt Stairs was kind of our team leader in that aspect. We had a young team, and Stairs, he was helping everybody out, even pitchers, just talking to him. Hey, this is what the hitters want to see. Yeah. So it's fun. Fans don't always see the true team leaders out there. They always just see the best player on the team is like, oh, he must be the team leader. Not always.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, Manny Machado, to his credit, has done a lot of things to lead the Padres this year. We'll see if he's able to do it in Milwaukee. Once again, Padres 3-game series at the Brewers. The guys who they have relied on to step up and bolster this pitching staff will all be going. Randy Vasquez, Stephen Kolek, Ryan Bergert, against a very, very, very good Brewers pitching staff as well. Your prediction is a lot of long balls and an offensive explosion. Oh, yeah. I think it will be more low scoring. We will see what happens as everything plays out. Heath, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
All I got to say is Milwaukee doesn't have Tony Gwynn Jr. that kind of knocked us out in the playoffs in 2007. So that's one of my lowest moments of, they didn't knock us out, but they made us play the Rockies. And then we all know what happened there. But so that's why I just think our offense is going to tear it up. I just have a gut feeling that our offense is going to do really well in Milwaukee. And, we might have one game we don't do well because they have a good pitching staff, but I really feel like the offense is going to turn it around. And I feel like Tatis is going to start hitting the ball.
We will see. That would certainly be a welcome development. Well, Heath, thank you again for your expertise and insight as always. We appreciate it.
All right, let's go. Let's go Padres.
All right, everyone. That'll do it for another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead and give us a review, Apple, YouTube, Spotify, whatever platform you're watching, listening on. Please, please, please subscribe. The more subscribers we have, the more it helps us. We would love to hear from you. Comments, let us know what you're thinking. And you can find us on BCC. Ask us some questions. Let's talk Padres baseball and Major League Baseball at large. There's a lot of good stuff going on. Thank you again for watching and listening this edition of Friar Territory. We'll see you next week.